So how's your week been?
I got to argue with a lot of prime contractors and city people
It
today.
seems
about
like your honey bucket runneth over as well as mine.
Mine was very much just people Perhaps I'm just framing things this way because I happened to start watching the show this week. But my job typically consists of finding the documentation as to why this person is wrong about why they have an issue, and basically going, no, because of this.
In some ways, that's not too far from mine, although now I'm more mine is that's a facet of my job. So it's not. I don't know if it's fair to say that that's the same, but
Like, I literally spend the majority of my day finding, like, one time I had a TxDOT employee come on site and be like, or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't even TxDOT. It was a different internet provider. And they were like, 2 internet providers are not supposed to be drilling at the same time. Do you have active locates? And I said, yeah. I said, the reason why we're both out here at the same time is not because of us. It's because of you. Because you're supposed to be done with your job already, and you're not. And they were like, yeah, but we told AT&T that they had to stop and wait for us, and that was already approved. And I'm like, I don't know who told you that, but we're drilling anyway. And then he started talking to me about how it had to be located, and because the fact that their company, I think it's Nexus or something like that, that they weren't done with their job. They're like, so we can't locate our lines. I'm like, okay, that's not my problem.
sounds like a you problem.
Well, I said that, but then I literally pulled up the ticket number, the proof of the fact that I had called that in, and I just went, right there, that's your company. It says it's located, so I'm not going to sit here arguing with you. And he's like, can you send that to me? I'm like, sure. But if your supervisor wants to see it and somebody screwed the pooch on your guys' end to say, yeah, it's located when it wasn't, that's not on me, pal. Guess what? You guys are paying the premium if we hit
now,
your...
the opposite of this is something I had to deal with this week. Is it's nice to be able to dish that out, and it ain't so fun when it gets dished right back.
Well, sure.
'Cause I had a job, and it was gonna go our way, where it was like, hey, you're referencing stuff on your approval markups that did not. You're referencing pages we don't have.
Yeah.
And I talked to all of our sales guys, talked to the project manager. I'm like, did they ever send these? We don't have them. No, we're good. We're going to have to charge them for it. We got it all put together. And then the sales manager gets back to me. He's like, yeah, so
we did find those.
We found those, and we had them all the way back at the beginning. And I was just like, okay, that's a big bomb to drop.
You know, Al, I don't think you're him. It's a bit, yeah.
So it's just a way
suck.
to go, well, that is a big, it's not even solved. It's like, then it was right at the end of today, where it's like, okay, we're about to go into the weekend. There's nothing we can do now. It's just like, look forward to Monday, I guess.
Well, that did happen for us this week as well. That I went out, so we had been drilling off of Highway 5, and it was this really complicated job because we're crossing an actual main freeway, or highway at least, and so TxDOT has to be involved in a way that normally they're not. I mean, TxDOT is always involved to some degree when you're on streets like that, but most of the time they're a little more hands-off. But with this one, we actually were running crossings across the street, and so they were being all particular according to what the map's plans were supposed to be. But then they wanted us to come out and verify pipe because they said that our pipe wasn't correct and it had to be redone.
And did you say the line?
What?
So you can verify this pipe.
Stick that in your pipe. No.
I've got a pipe you can verify.
No, I went out there. I said, okay, we'll meet you out there, but I don't think there's going to be an issue, or I don't think it's going to be our issue, or what have you. And so I went out there, and it was definitely one of those just, okay, I guess I'll just have to take this one on the chin and say I was wrong, because I went out there thinking for sure I was going to be able to demonstrate that we were completely in the right, and that the reason why we hadn't drilled at a particular depth was because there was rock. And I got on site and I was like, well, that can't be my argument because it's definitely dirt.
There's no rock.
Yeah, we have. There's no rock.
Oh, I was.
And
no,
then,
I was gonna
second of all,
comment
it
on
was
that.
supposed to be 5 feet according to the the drill map, and we were drilling it probably like 40 inches, so it's like not even 4 feet totally.
Yeah, about 4
And
feet.
and I was like, okay, so we're definitely way further off than I wanted to be. But then I sent my guys back out there, and I was like, I told my guys, hey, we're gonna have to just drop this one more additional foot because we need to be making sure that we're in 5 feet. And TxDOT was on site when they came out with shovels and sharpshooters. I kid you not, they did not even have a mini, like a backhoe mini excavator. Nothing. They were just using hand tools for this section of the street. And TxDOT's out there, and they're like, oh no, you're not going 5, you're gonna go 7. So now they had to literally dig a 15-foot trench 7 feet down with hand tools with 3 guys. I was like, oh, I think we're going to get letters about this. I was like,
We're gonna get shivved in the back.
I was like, please don't quit. I literally called Roberto, and I was like, Roberto, how are you doing? And he goes, it's a lot of work, man. Frick you, man. Frick you. Frick you.
We're playing therapy this week, if you can't tell. And we're in therapy as well, actually. It's very kind of you to let us do this in your office, mister.
You just couldn't even bother to create a name that was... I do like your little train system is probably the most fascinating.
So here's I meant to comment on this back when I was at the old spot, because we did this once before. And you'll recall, anyone who has seen that I had built a big old massive hole in the ground right outside my little base. And I had built this complicated system for calculating. It's hard to, I don't even remember exactly. I had a thing where it was like, okay, you could select a floor and the rail would take you to that specific floor.
Right.
And I went through a whole lot of effort. And then it occurred to me, the whole point of what I was building, this is a similar thing, just this giant circle, is essentially this is just a giant strip mine that goes all the way down. So there's different levels because different minerals grow at different levels. I say grow, spawn at different levels. And you just make a bunch of these hallways that go out into a far distance, and then you branch out from those hallways. I'll show you one of them. Basically, is this going to kill me? No, it's not, if I don't miss. You go out in a hall like this, and then you make these little sub-halls, and if you have them in this orientation, eventually you'll mine an entire giant square.
Right.
Because these hallways will eventually overlap with those hallways, which means you're going to not miss any single bit of mineral you can extract, you're going to find.
Right.
And then you do that at every level. And it's just a really comprehensive way of mining, and as my sort of...
Not to pat myself on the back, but it's pretty great.
I enjoy... I mean, if you saw my base from last time, I've definitely leaned into the dwarvish aesthetic. So I built a hole that size over there. And then I had my little rail system, which required an enormous amount of redstone, which probably wasn't even worth it. And then it occurred to me, because basically, let me get up on top of the mountain here. If you're mining in this pattern and you have a giant redstone basically calculator, because basically what happened with it was, this was the main entrance. I had the inputs for that thing and sort of along these walls where these halls are. And then, so basically an area roughly that size was taken up by the redstone thing, which is like, well, that means a bunch of this, I mean, not, I could have just, extended the hallways past it and then mined out further, but I was like, I've basically already pre-mined a bunch of this stuff, which means the mining halls I'm going to drill are going to interfere with my redstone.
Right.
And it was just an enormous amount of redstone that I probably wasn't worth it when I could just get over it and walk up the stairs. So I basically recreated that giant hole over here. And it goes down. And I also learned that Minecraft updated the depth recently. The max depth used to be, it used to be 0 actually, and they've now gone negative. So not only did I need to dig this anyways just to reach the new levels, but I wasn't happy with the way the other one was formulated. So I've basically undone all that work and redone it again. And that just tells you why I need therapy. But anyways, I'm going to do something I'm probably going to regret because I'm going to have to walk up all these stairs again. But this is how deep it goes. This is the new depth. So basically all of this stone that's black, this is the new depth. The old depth used to stop right around where the gray stone continues. And, yeah, this is what I've been working on. I actually like...
What is the difference in this more black stone?
This is, it's just a different kind of stone, and I forget what they called it, but essentially they've completely revamped how caves work in the game. So caves... Well, caves in the upper levels are literally like sort of small tunnels that just sort of spiral through various corridors and whatnot. This is now what new caves look like.
Or they're just what?
Or they're just basically these giant underground caverns. Because the old caves were literally like, I could probably show you one if I went back to where I was, but they're literally like these small little narrow. Most of the time. Sometimes you get bigger ones, but for the most part they were fairly small and minor. And these are now enormous for some reason. I'm not overly fond of it because I don't know all that they've added to these. Like, I don't know what you can actually find in these now. And I don't know if it's something you need that's worth finding.
Yeah.
Because there's a point at which they started putting out updates for Minecraft where I was like, but is that required? Like, they started adding a bunch of different kinds of stone, and I'm like, okay, is this purely aesthetic, I guess? Because you can't use them for a whole lot. They just are different looking stones. So,
well, some people fuss over that kind of stuff.
I guess there's the interior design Minecrafters, but that's not how So that's sort of an idea of what old caves used to look like. I can't get there now because I've made a big hole in the way, but like they used to be small little passages like that just forked around and spun and circled and you'd go all the way. But anyways,
fork around and find out.
And that, like, this is about as big as they used to get. As you'd sometimes get these really tall ones, but for the most part they stayed fairly narrow and had random stuff in them. But yeah, this is what I've been working on, and it's quiet and contemplative is my main reason for doing it for therapy. I like putting on podcasts and doing this as a way of relaxing when you find out that your whole project you've been working on screwed up. Also because I need to replenish my iron supplies because, ironically, trying to mine this large of a hole takes a whole lot of pickaxes, which takes a whole bunch of iron, which is the whole point of why you're digging the hole. So it's a bit of an interesting question. I still think, technically speaking, it takes 3 iron to make one of these picks. And probably...
It takes 3 to make a pick go right.
You'll probably get more than that out of it. But yeah, like this is what they look like. The reason you separate them by 2 is that you don't need them, every other space because you'll see both sides of this wall anyways. Like you can see what's in this line and what's in this line. You don't have to dig through it. I probably don't need to explain strip mining to everybody. Those who know already know, and those who don't care. But anyways, any more gripes about your week? That's why I defaulted to 2 games that comfort me this week rather than experimenting with anything new or trying to here's a new game that I thought. I'm just like, nope. I need the old familiar comforts for my soul bereaved. Now that I've shown this off, I'm actually going to go back because I was also working on something different back at my house. Anyways, this is another game I tried to get you to play that you didn't play much of.
No, this one I certainly didn't play much of. I don't know. It just never really was a big draw for me. I was the interior designer Minecrafter, where it was like, okay, yeah, I could see this being interesting if you were putting together some sort of a house, or you could create things based on your own desire for a particular floor plan or layout or what have you.
You can do that to an extent. I do that, but I just start to get to the point where it feels like the things they've added aren't that different. Where it's like they've added different kinds of stone that look separate, but not that different.
Yeah.
I can show you in my storage because I have a bunch of this stuff. But it used to be, this was the stone and the dirt was the dirt, and it all was the same. And I guess, Maybe there's some real geology enthusiasts at Mojang or Mojang or however it's pronounced, or Microsoft now that they've bought it because of like they're a bunch of corporate scumbags. Don't get me started on that. But yeah,
how's your journey with Linux going? Speaking of that,
I haven't yet.
I haven't.
It's all been research. I haven't done any actual practical stuff.
So you've stalked them on Facebook. You just haven't actually taken them out to dinner yet.
Suppose you could phrase it like that if you wanted to be real creepy about it. So here's what makes this an even dumber Sisyphean task. So this was the giant hole I had originally. And then it occurred to me, it's like, well, okay, if I'm not going to use it, I kind of don't want it. And so all of the stone I've been mining out of the other place, I've been putting back and filling in this giant hole. So everybody who has any sense is going to think that I'm utterly mad. And I probably am, but it's like, yeah, that's what this whole furnace thing is every time I get a load of stone from the other place, I put it in here. And then slowly I will fill this hole back in so it's no longer here. Because the tedium is what Minecraft's actually for. I genuinely think that that's true. It's a sort of controlled...
Well, that's
tedium.
certainly true. The monotony is never...
It's the monotony you choose rather
Right,
than the
exactly.
monotony life forces on you.
It's not what I do, but what I choose that defines me.
Now, what was I... So what I was actually... The other thing I was doing, as evidenced by my immense need for pickaxes that I blow through like cigarettes. I don't know if that's a decent analogy. Going through a 10-pack of pickaxes a day.
If you're a chain smoker, I suppose, that's sure.
But the other thing I've been doing is the other update that Minecraft has made recently is to a specific block you can find in the Nether, which makes even more powerful tools than diamond, because it used to be the case that these diamond pickaxes were the most durable, they would last the longest. Okay, how did you get in here? Okay. As long as I'm not responsible for you.
I don't know how I got in here. Please don't send me away.
But the diamond pickaxes used to be the most durable, but I found that they did not provide decent return. Because essentially it takes 3 diamonds to make one of these. And when you're mining as much as I am, especially in levels that diamonds don't even spawn, you're probably not even going to get 3 diamonds by the time you break it. Whereas just digging a hole with a pickaxe, you probably will find 3 iron before the axe breaks.
3 iron.
So every pickaxe is defending its own, investment. Whereas, anyways, diamond does not. Now, the other thing they've done is this new block that is called something I forget. Netherite, I think it's what it's called. And you can use that to create even more powerful tools. And I'm curious about that to see if it would be worth it. And whether or not it's useful or because my thought would be what I could do is if I get a netherite pickaxe and then enchant it with the highest durability I can, it might actually last for long enough to be worth making. I'm going to experiment with that, but I'm having to now mine. Basically, I'm doing the exact same thing, but in the nether. I've just created a giant strip mining series.
Within the netherite, how much of that does that last within the context?
I haven't found it yet.
So you're just gonna.
It's going to last. In fact, I could probably look it up. Someone would probably say, because I know that the Minecraft wiki has all this info. It's like the pickaxe can break this many blocks before it will break, and the diamond can do this. So I don't know if it's double or triple or. But I'm basically proceeding with the exact same operation of strip mining, but in the nether now, making these giant corridors. I have found the level at which they said it spawns most frequently. Oops, don't want to use that torch. But I don't actually know how hard it is to come across. Maybe the effort to find it will undo any worth that it has, but like I said, it's therapy this week, so you can sit and watch me tunnel through some unsettlingly flesh-toned rocks. This is actually an episode of the Magic School Bus that went awry.
I've got parasites as big as my arm. Oh dear, Miss Frizzle is I don't know about that one.
It's a messed up show when you think about it.
I don't.
Just saying, hey, we're gonna get into this giant bus that's gonna shrink, and we're gonna go inside one of our classmates' bodies. It's like, I'd opt out of that field trip. Mom, please don't sign this paper. Miss Frizzle's going to do something awful again.
Makes Miss Frizzle sound like some sort of weird psychopathic human centipede doctor.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Ah!
Gonna go, okay.
All right, I'm not going in this direction anymore.
Gonna
Or is
go-
this just a single block? That sometimes happens. It's probably, yeah. Okay. No, that's exactly what I didn't want to do. Ugh! Ah, I'm making it worse! You're making it worse! Darn it. Okay. I think it's literally just a single block, so... I mean, I've completely ruined... Now I have to get all the way back over there. Going inches at a time. Well, what's your therapy about? Does your honey bucket runneth over?
I could tell you, but I get really sick and tired of
Did you
people
have to
not
kill me?
being people of their word. That's one thing I'm
There
tired
you
of.
go.
I
Okay,
think
come on.
it's gotten old, not in that. Okay, it's gotten old, not in the sense of
Golly, lava flows faster than I remember.
golly lava.
What? I mean,
It's
the unknown leader of the Hindu church. Don't you know? Golly lava.
the golly lava.
Yay!
Uh,
Wow.
it's
Lava used to flow slower, I swear.
It's in the business sense partially, but it's also just I don't like.
Oh, have I covered it up? I got rid of it.
I think for a while I thought I had a handle on this because I had embraced a degree of detachment, and I'll be honest with that. That it allowed me to perhaps mask the cynicism that I had to just go, well, for the most part, humanity apparently can't actually represent proper friendship in that they're going to be friends.
I don't know. I think Aristotle would agree.
Well, I don't think it's philosophically wrong. I'm just saying I certainly as a I wouldn't even say I'm a humanist,
why does
but
that keep happening? I keep
as
pressing the wrong
a progressivist, maybe.
why would you call yourself that? I wouldn't.
I'm trying to define it as something better than that, because I think progressivism has the connotation, obviously, of political progressivism, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in the sense of consistent improving. I mean, the word that's coming to mind is a Japanese word, kaizen, which means consistent or continual improvement. But it's
this looks like an actual problem.
an actual well.
Well, because sometimes you find like genuine oceans of lava under here. Sometimes you just find individual pockets. I guess that's what that is.
So it's
basically. You've realized that most people are awful.
Well, it's not even awful. It's just I don't. So on a professional level, I suppose I'll tackle it that way. On a professional level, if you can't be somewhere when you say you're going to be there, just don't say you're going to be there. Don't be one of those people that says, "Yeah, I'm going to be out there tomorrow morning, and I'll get you started, and then you don't show up." It's like,
Fair
okay.
enough.
Same thing as like, okay, if you know you're going to default on a responsibility of yours, be it paying somebody that is an employee of yours, or be it, not showing up on a particular at a particular time for an event or something like that. I don't care what your position is in this particular scenario. Some people would argue, oh, if you're the boss, you get to do whatever, so don't bother calling and saying, hey, you're going to be running late. It's like, well, no, because what that communicates is you don't care a one oat for the...
Oh, this is not... I mean, this is actually decent stuff, but it's not what I'm looking for.
For the person's time,
Well, but see, the fact of the matter is, though, they're probably not... They don't have a problem communicating that because they don't.
But then don't communicate it initially.
Well, they're not communicating they value your time. They're just telling you something they think is going to happen, and then it doesn't.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, so this is perhaps a more.
I'm not disagreeing with you that it's disrespectful, but the point is, I don't think they care about sending that message.
No,
It's probably
that's
not an untrue
true.
message.
I just think I wish I would. I would like to think better of people. I suppose.
Well, see, that's where you just got to give up on that.
Well, that I
There's
agree
no
with.
point.
It's
Blow through pickaxes like. I'm trying to think of a better analogy than cigarettes. Blowing through them faster than cigarettes. You'd have to be inhaling these cigarettes.
blowing through them faster than a mainline heroin addict.
This would be like a cartoon cigarette where you have to take a deep breath and it just goes. That's how fast.
No, Pudgy, don't smoke.
That's how I'm going through these pickaxes. I
Um,
don't even know what this block I'm looking for looks like.
it's a large white stone. You'll know it when you see
The
it.
game just sort of tells me when I find it.
You did it. I don't know. I mean, on a personal level, I don't
See, the thing is,
I don't appreciate when friends.
well, you consider business people friends?
No. This doesn't have anything to do with
Oh, so
business
are you
people.
pivoting?
It's tangential, and I'm gonna be as vague as possible for a reason.
Because it's me.
Yeah.
Good heavens. It's me.
It's me. No. I don't appreciate when, even on an unwritten level, and perhaps this is a me problem, but
I'll stop you there. As a stoic, it is.
well, sure, but I'm saying friendship to me ought to be founded in, or rooted, I suppose, in communication. And that means, first and foremost, that if something's going on where it's shifted or pivoted your interactions, I don't know, just don't. I don't appreciate the non-communication. Like, I would. Say you have a friend that you used to be really close to, and then you had kind of a bit of a falling out simply because of natural process, whether it was a location issue or whether it was, hey, we're not into the same things anymore, or what have you.
I don't know that the same.
Don't-
Falling out usually is more loaded than that.
Well, maybe. I'm saying, how would you say that then? A
I don't
comfortable falling away, or a.
know. Well, just natural
But
distance, or.
But it. I just wish there. Really, what I'm looking for is closure.
Well, that's another thing you can't always get in life.
You can rarely get it in life.
Can't always get what you need.
Everybody will have closure when the casket shuts.
Is it even gonna be then, though?
I hope so.
I hope they don't open it again.
I hope they don't drag my body out once more. That would be the first words out of my mouth. If I have to do this again, I will literally. It reminds me of when in Supernatural when what's his name comes back from hell. When Dean comes back from hell.
What specific part of that? Or are you just thinking generally?
Well, generally, I'm just saying he dies and it's like, yeah, that's it. And then he comes back, and even though he's away from hell, there's a part of me that would be like, really?
I don't think you'd think that at all.
I don't know.
If you died and it was like peaceful and serene, and then you came back, I could understand that perspective. But I think if you're being tortured forever, I'd be like, yeah, get me out of here, please. Is that it? Oh, okay. This could be a permanent problem. That's making it seem like it's right above us. Was this? It's dripping. Lava is dripping. Is it? Or is it just here again? This is acting like it's dripping from above me. Okay. So we might have ourselves a problem. Okay, that took me too long. Okay, I missed it apparently. Well, bum. This is probably the game telling me this is the wrong way to go. The stone you're looking for is not here. So basically,
that's my qualm this
you're
week.
just the what's the word? The disappointed idealist in life,
Well, it's not even idealism.
expecting
because
people to be better than they are.
It's not expecting people to be better than
Well,
they are.
wishing
It's
they would be better
wishing
than they
they
are.
would be. That's a better way of putting it. And what I find is here's another problem I have is when you speak the
Are
truth.
you writing all this down, Doctor?
Yeah, when you speak the truth, people don't want to hear it.
I believe Jesus said those same words.
But I mean, in that, I think I was talking about my responses the other day with a friend, and they said, well, I don't want you to not be able to respond to things. I just want you to respond slightly differently. And my response
I just want you to
essentially
respond the way I want you to respond.
well, my response was essentially, what I have learned is a truth. I said, and it's a sad truth and an unfortunate truth, but it's a truth nonetheless. And so I set it up this way and basically said, you're not going to like this, but it is a fact, which is that by and large, most people just want you to be nonplussed about everything. They don't want you to respond really at all. And if you do, you better respond in the exact manner that they think you ought to. And so I said, I have found myself having to apologize for less and be respected, I suppose. Well, not even respected. Be appreciated more when I just don't respond at all.
So you're coming around to the stoic position.
It's a bit of a, well, it's a bitter pill to swallow, I suppose, is a number one thing.
But that's stoicism for you. Swallow it anyhow.
But it's I said it, and then they were like, "That's not the truth." I was like, "Yes, it is actually. You should test that theory." And then we kind of teased it out, and then they were
You
like,
have just proven my theory, in fact, by reacting exactly as I said you would.
"Yeah, exactly." But I just basically said, "Well, the unfortunate truth is, people can say, well, I want you to be able to feel the things that you want to feel,' but then it's like, but then when I do, and you tell me, no, not that."
There's an excellent this is a whole thing by Alan Watts where he criticizes the it's a bit of a random context, but he's referring to the sort of the difficult thing of I'm sure I'm going to butcher it. The sort of the way in the Old Testament as opposed to the New, where the idea is it's not just that you can't just demand a certain behavior of people, which you could argue it's like, okay, well, it's a religious precept, we're going to expect this behavior, but they also add the stipulation, and you have to do it voluntarily, like it has to come from the depths of your heart. He's like, that's a difficult thing, because it's one thing to say I expect you to act in one way. It's another thing to say I expect you to voluntarily think this way. Because that's what people are basically want is, I want you to, feel like you can be honest and give honest answers. I just want your honest answers to align with mine.
Right, exactly.
It's like, well, then you don't actually want honest answers. What you want is for me to agree with you. But you want me to agree with you of my own will. Which is like, so that's not how that works.
Yeah,
it's like, imagine he gives the example of saying, if a woman, if your wife or a serious, partner asked you, do you love me really? Or the whole sort of, I'm not sure exactly what the trope is, but it's the sort of, when they ask for, an affirmation of your commitment to them, if you say, would they be pleased if your answer was, well, I'm certainly trying my hardest to do so. It's like, that's all they can expect of you, really, but that's just not romantic.
Right, exactly.
And in fact, it's really random, but there is the scene in the show Victoria, which is about, this is not what I was looking for, you got my hopes up game. Unless it is. This looks like gravel. I think it's gravel.
It's gravel!
It is.
It's everywhere.
I didn't even know gravel was in here. Is this the stone I'm looking for? I don't think it is. Oh, I didn't pick it up. What did I get? What? Okay, I have to ditch something. Gold nuggets. That's still not it. What is this? Have I found? That's stuff that you get from... Oh, here it is. It's up here. Come on, give me the stuff. I don't need this. I don't need this. I want whatever that is right there. I doubt it's what I'm looking for. Blackstone. That's not what it... This is at least a change of scene, though. I'm happy about that. Yes, the show Victoria, it's about Queen Victoria and Prince Albert and their relationship. And so there is a scene in which they're having sort of marital disputes, as you'd expect from a sort of soap opera-ish type show. And he, at one point, expresses a similar sentiment where he's saying, I have a duty to you and to our children. And she sort of acts like, well, is duty all it is to you? And he says, I'm afraid it's... Or he doesn't say I'm afraid. He says, that's all I have right now. And in a way, I respect the honesty of that and the fact that there's going to be times when you can't expect more than that. You can't expect the person to be genuinely infatuated with you always.
Right.
You're going to have to accept that sometimes they're like, no, I'm obviously going to uphold my obligation as a member of the family. But that doesn't mean that I'm like, I just eagerly want to do this thing always. And I have no personality outside of loving you. It's like, that's unreasonable. And you have to honestly just say, there's honor in acknowledging.
Right.
I'm going to do what I have to do, even if I don't want to.
Even in a romantic relationship, that's the idea. I mean, it's like the fall down or the cool down period is inevitable. You can't always stay. And a lot of people, again, that's an ugly truth. People go, you can live in the passion for your entire life. I'm like, well,
yeah, you can. You'll just have to hop people, though.
Yeah, which is terrible. I mean, you have an entire culture and generation that basically live on that precedent, that predicate.
I still don't think this is the thing I'm looking for.
And I don't. And this is where I get.
Nope.
This is the hang up for me is I go, well, you commit to.
This, I think, means there's a fortress somebody, because I think this is what the nether fortresses are made of.
You commit to the choice of committing
and you should also acknowledge that that's in some ways more serious. I mean, it's not necessarily romantic and emotional, but to say I am not feeling it right now, but I am still going to choose to love you, or to I guess in a romantic sense, or in a friendship sense, to honor our friendship, or it's like there's actually that is a greater show of your seriousness as a friend, or as
of your loyalty
as a partner, to say, even when my heart isn't in it, I'm going to do it.
Well,
I'm seeing
case in point, I think that's the real.
That means something's around.
I think that's the real.
I fell. It's so dark. I thought it was a giant pit.
That is the real meaning of that scripture that talks about the wounds of a friend being true. That is where that actually applies.
What is causing these weird wispy effects?
I don't have any idea. Nether junk. That's what this rock is called.
I don't know what. See that? Are you seeing these? Where is this coming from?
You're seeing the sparkles.
What are these sparkles?
So yeah, there's my therapy.
Oh, is that all?
Soapbox. My expounding plank.
I'm sure you don't have deeper wounds.
Oh, I do. I assure you.
Oh yes, quarterback. In some places I do. What is this?
A knock on my heart. Who could it be? And do we have enough time?
Do we have enough time? I don't know what's going on here.
Who could it be now? Who could it be knocking at my soul?
This. Go away.
Stay away.
Don't come around here. No. I don't know what these particles are for. They taunt me.
That sounds terrible to say, but the reality is I do get tired of being... It's the letdown.
I get tired of being an optimist.
There's a song. Again, I think I've shown you the song. It's the Chronically Cautious. It's literally, there's a...
I don't think that sounds familiar.
Okay, well, I'm
going to show you a song.
I have showed it to you before, but I don't know if you recall it. He's a newer artist. He's not super well known.
By who?
I can look him up right now.
If I don't recognize his name, I'm sure. Well, you don't even know his name.
I don't recall his name.
Then how do you expect me to recall?
I didn't expect you to recall.
Is it the gravel that creates that particle effect? I've never noticed gravel do that before. I'm confused. This search for stuff isn't going
Brandon Bales.
Isn't that a guy we know?
No. Beals is who we know,
Oh.
and that's... So... Anyway,
I've never heard of him. I don't think you showed it to me.
The song, there's a verse that basically says, or like in the pre-chorus, in the first verse he says, "I'm an optimist who's cynical," or no, how can optimists be cynical? And
that's
the second
actually
verse,
usually what causes cynicism is just optimism that's gone awry.
well, that's been. I want all of you to look at it. But then the second verse, as he goes into it, he says, "I'm an
cynic is a disappointed idealist."
Essentially, but he then in the first verse it's more of like a question mark. He goes, "How can optimists be cynical?" In the second verse, it's like, "I'm an."
I'll show you how.
Well, no, in the second verse he literally says, "I'm an optimist who's cynical," and that's freaking miserable. And it's like, yeah, it is, because what you find is. The hope for better is there.
You know, you think people are nice, and then you meet them.
And then you get there.
Okay, I can't actually say.
What?
Fill it in your mind.
Well, prickly, but I mean...
That's not all he says.
Brown or what?
Well, I tried to warn you.
You can't... No.
I tried to warn you about the pit, and you fell right into it.
Sure, but I don't think that's sure. That's obviously not what you were saying. And then you get there, and...
Oh, no. Oh, well. That was it forever, everybody. Goodbye.
No, I mean, the reality is, it's true. People get... I think it's a porcupine. No, I think it's a poop with a knife sticking out of it. Pretty sure it's poop. The truth is, most people are poops.
I'm still sorry. I'm hung up on that.
Most people are just pieces of poop.
I'm giving up on this direction. This is how far I've mined this and found nothing. So,
well,
I don't think it's in this direction.
You can certainly not. No one can deny you've plumbed the depths.
Consider these depths plumbed.
Don't say that ever again. Anywho.
That's what...
Wow, no. No. Anyway.
Shall we talk about King Theoden?
Sure. I mean, we just obviously lost. I mean, that we haven't been able to work that in yet.
No, it's true. The sad passing.
Bernard
Hill.
Bernard Hill, yeah, he passed.
I saw a video today that I think it's one of those rare. Someone made an interesting, because again, I'm a fan of the YouTube essay, where someone basically just talks about a topic they're interested in for a while, and what they put it in a framework that made immediate sense, and I was astonished that it hadn't come to me before. But the way he said it is Theoden is sort of the hero of Gen Z, which obviously sounds strange because he was not a young man. He's not referring to the age of like people of that age group. He's talking about of this generation,
right,
in time. And I was curious about that. I was like, well, hey, I've always said I liked him as a character, so if you've got a new take on him, that's fine by me.
Sure.
And because we've talked about it before, both of us agree he's the best character in the movies.
100%.
But the reasons we have given
even in the books, in my opinion.
I don't think he's as well written in the books.
He's not as well written, but he's still better, in my opinion, than Aragorn. Aragorn is an absolute bag in the books.
He's a bit of a showboater.
He's not even a showboater. He's actually just kind of awkward. It's like, can you shut up? I don't know.
You're spoiling me moment.
You blew my hat off, you freaking...
Now, the reason we have given, though, has been more personal reasons for why we like him.
Sure.
And fair enough. And, I mean, there's also some...
cinematic reasons.
quasi-thematic or sort of mythological reasons.
Well, that's what I mean.
The idea that we've said he's the more human of all of them.
Yeah.
Despite being a king, he's not like the Fellowship, who are all either literal wizards or people with magic
that's the definition
power.
of an approachable nobility rather than...
Yeah, but I mean, even Boromir and Aragorn are these sort of great heroes of these ancestral houses who have, I mean, obviously Aragorn's literally prophesied to come and save the world, essentially. Boromir...
You and this lava.
I mean, it keeps happening.
And the copper sulfate. I'm sorry.
That came out of completely nowhere. What?
I heard my science teacher in my head. And here we have the magma coming out of the top of the lava. What is it? What is the vent on the top of a volcano? What is it called?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you're useless. I'm just playing. Go ahead. Sorry. Continue.
It's a very strange derailment.
It's just terrible.
Because my example is, it's like the other members of the Fellowship are literally either magical beings or fantasy races, or even the ones that are human are like these sort of prototypical heroic mythical heroes.
Right, 100%.
Even Boromir, who's more of a tragic hero, is still kind of a mythical kind of figure.
Yes.
He has a sort of Icarus-like
it's got a
fall and then redemption and then...
It's got a very Greek tragedy vibe.
Whereas
to it.
Theoden is basically just a guy trying to do good in a world that's falling
just
apart.
a guy with like a big knife.
Well, he did have. I do like his sword, but it's like he's just a man trying to make the right decisions, even though they're hard to make.
To help him
and
find his place
again,
in this world.
Anyway, these are the arguments on a personal level. I'm like, oh, I like that sort of thematic element of he's written well, and that makes him more interesting and more relatable than the other members of the Fellowship or other characters. But the way this guy extrapolated that was saying he, in his place in time, in the Middle Earth, in that time of Middle Earth, end of the Third Age or whatever they say it is, he's actually in what his age's equivalent is of basically our own. He's saying he's from this, once mighty kingdom that is slowly falling apart. The world is slowly getting worse. And he
looks to his counterparts and says, "Who am I becoming?"
Well, in a way, he's definitely got an existentialist strain where he's
sure, 100%.
Things, I know my history and I know that things were better than they are, but I never actually experienced it.
Well, and that's when he
said, I was like, oh gosh, that's completely accurate. It was like
100%.
And that is, I think, if there was one way to typify the existential angst of this generation, it's like we all know that things were better. Most of us didn't experience it, but we still know that it was the case.
Yeah.
Like we see the evidence of things having been better, but we know that they're not right now. And it leaves you with this question of like, how do you behave? How do you comport yourself in a world that's falling apart, knowing that you probably can't make the difference needed to actually rebuild what's been lost? And I found that it made his all the things I liked about him make even more poignant sense.
Yeah, but
where it's like like the line that struck out to me because he didn't put this line in the video, even though he absolutely could have, where it was the line of, he says, "Alas, that these evil days should be mine," where it's like, right. Golly, I've never thought about that line so personally before.
Yeah.
But that's something you feel in this day and age.
Well, and I think the thing that sucks is I said this the other day to you when we were talking about the balance between not becoming so jaded that you literally just say, to hell with it, but it's like, you have to live on that precipice of, we cannot win this battle. No, we can't, but we will meet them in battle nonetheless.
Well, yeah, and
it's
again,
like,
I found that the way he framed it recontextualized all those lines for me, because it's like,
right.
The thing that makes him, I think, a moral, what's the word, like a role model, especially for people in this generation, is he's essentially as jaded, maybe not the right word, but it's like he's as existentially affected as we in our age are.
Yeah.
And he's dealing with the kind of questions of saying, okay, even if I do the right thing, will it make a difference?
Right.
And he chooses that he's going to, even though you can kind of tell he doesn't believe it will make a difference.
Right. Well, and
it's
he does
so we
the
will
right
meet
thing
in the battle
comes.
nonetheless. He's basically saying, we're not gonna succeed at changing anything.
Right.
But
we're gonna
even if we don't believe it will work, it still needs to be done.
Yeah, the trying.
Almost if for no other reason than because you have to. I mean, it's essentially a metaphysical axiom. He's basically saying because you have to try anyways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you
like,
look at that scene where he doesn't want to light the beacons or whatever. Here's the guy who
doesn't want to respond to the beacons.
He does. Well, yeah, but I mean, initially, when Aragorn's imploring him to light the beacons and ask for aid, he says, "Where was why would I do that?" Essentially, I've been abandoned by everybody. I'm not gonna.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. There's never a point when they would light the beacons. They only.
Yeah, because he says.
He's talking about if the beacons are lit, you'll have to answer, and then he's like, "Well, where were they when we needed help?"
So, here's my point in that.
And he's not
wrong. You have
wrong.
a guy who's debating. He's saying out loud, and here's the truth of our generation. There is a part of mental processing that must almost be verbalized because, in my opinion, this is what I'm saying. With Theoden, he says out loud, he
asks a valid question, saying, "Why should we help people who didn't?"
100%, and he asks the valid question, but then when push comes to shove, of course he doesn't do that.
But the fact that the fact that he is honest enough to admit the struggle,
that's my point. That's important.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's. I mean, I don't think it's that questions like that need to be asked verbally before they're processed.
I'm not saying they need to be asked verbally.
He has an immediate reaction, which is completely justified.
Right.
But ultimately, he does make the right decision.
Not because of, and this is where it comes down to moral fiber, because it's not because he felt that Gondor was owed that.
No, he probably didn't want to either.
Exactly. He literally went, He
probably still didn't want to do it. But
he was sitting there going, Rohan is what it's going to be because this is who we are, not, And I think that is true of our generation too. That there are people that opt out and just basically go, I need somebody to tell me who I am.
The cynicism, basically, the cynicism win, where it's just like, and there's a sort of fatalist streak that's 100%. Like nothing's going to change, so why bother? It's like you have to take the existentialist streak, which is it won't make a difference, but you still need to do it anyways. That's almost absurdist, actually.
Yes.
It's like even the fact that doing it won't make a difference doesn't disqualify doing it from being a thing you should do.
Yeah.
So it's like it's okay. The game is sending me messages. No netherite here today.
No netherite here. It sends so many messages.
There's no netherite here unless you've brought it with you. Well,
you have no netherite here. Gandalf Stormcrow. Anyway.
So anyways, I will have to link the video. I forget the name of the channel. Seems like a small channel. He only had a couple thousand subscribers.
I do have to give that actor credit.
Every actor in that deserves credit.
Oh, 100%. But I'm saying, particularly that character, even the writing of it. Yes, the writing of it was great, but you have to.
He could have been. I mean, that's true of any of them, though. Any of the characters could have been much less interesting had they not been portrayed by great actors.
Except for...
Honestly, Orlando Bloom's awkwardness kind of adds to Legolas's elven just strangeness. It's like... His being kind of awkward is probably how everyone else thought about him, too. He's like, he's an elf and he doesn't get our ways. So, yeah, I forgot the name of the channel. I will link it because I thought he did a good job. And it was literally like a few days ago he posted that. I made a comment on it for the sake of, okay, we found a cave. Partially just as a way of like giving my own 2 cents that because it was literally a moment where it was one of those times when you hear something said that makes so much sense that you're like, oh, it's like a puzzle piece. It's like, okay, everything feels like it's coming into place right now.
Well, and I think the reality of art on a like in this case a cinematic level, but any sort of communication of meaning through a medium will eventually, I think, connect to the point that it becomes actualized in real life. Meaning, here you have a generation that has connected with this character because of the fact that he represents it's a bit of a...
It's bedrock. That's not what I'm looking for.
Not cathartic, but...
I think it is cathartic in the classic Greek sense.
Because it's
tragedy
all of a sudden,
being satisfying as almost like a
validation,
like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I was looking for. Validation. It's like this idea. Okay, clearly that's a truth, like a true feeling that I'm having. And that's not unfair. It's not an unfair feeling. But then to see him push past it, then also gives you that inspirational element. That's like, okay, it still may be worth it to truck on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I think the line that stood out to me as a result of all that was, because I've always liked most of his lines. He gets a lot of the good ones. But previously I wouldn't have thought the "Alas that these evil days should be mine" was among the most sort of poignant.
Yeah.
Until you consider it in this context where you're like, well, you may find yourself saying that pretty soon, lad.
Yeah, exactly. So, yep. I'm glad we were able to talk about that. I'm actually quite pleased that we were able to work that in.
Well, therapy's going well, I guess.
We're every day and every way, we're
every day, every hour.
Hoping. Every hour.
Every day, every hour.
You're the only one who can.
All right, so this
I
cave
thought you were referencing Billy Joel.
Every day, every hour.
Baby Grand.
Every day, every hour. What's that lyric?
My baby Grand's been good to me.
I know the song. I'm not familiar with that being a line in the song.
Oh. It's, yeah.
Every day. Oh, it's the Ray Charles's part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was referencing the Dean Martin song. Not even for that accurately. I kind of had to twist it out of context, but not that that's new. All right, well, should we move on to thoughts about your mother or something else deep-seated trauma?
Should we bring Mimi up again?
Mimi?
Never mind.
What? What's with all these weird references you're making?
They'll get it.
Who's them?
I don't know.
Everyone except you.
The royal them out there in the nether.
I'm in the nether. Yeah. Oh, mama! That's not what I'm looking for. This is completely useless to me.
Is that bedrock, all of that?
Yep, that means I can't dig any deeper than that. Well, I'm at the level they said it was at, and it ain't. I'm getting lots of quartz, which is nice, but this isn't what I'm here for. I'm going through all my picks. Well, you're not actually a Gen Zer technically, though, are you? I technically could probably choose. I'm of dual generational citizenship.
You're Gen Z and Gen what? What is the next one?
No, no. Gen Z goes way younger than me. I'm at the top end, not the low end. I'd have to be like 5. Gen Z is my age and slightly younger. I could technically, based on the year, choose which one I feel most.
Xer. I don't think.
You probably have to be a Y. You're a millennial.
Or something. No, but see that
you've become what you swore to destroy.
I never became anything.
I haven't done anything with my life, just like every other millennial.
No, have you heard? That's not what I said. Have you heard?
It is what you said. It's not what you meant.
No, I never said that. You ended up.
I haven't made anything. I haven't become anything.
No, I said Okay.
And I said just like every millennial.
But my
I was
point
being
is,
funny.
there is an
I'm giving
older
up on this
generation of
mine.
what's been called millennial, but it was before it was called a millennial, it was called a Y generation. And I'm like, yeah, that still fits me. It's like, because it was literally.
Well, yeah, Gen X, Gen Y, and Z, and for some reason Y got the other nickname.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying.
And again, well, I don't know where the
older millennials.
Where did the Zoomer thing come from?
I don't
Other
have
than
any
just,
idea.
is it just Boomer with a Z?
Well,
Because it came about after the OK Boomer thing became a thing.
Right.
And so was
And
it
it was
was
just
it
like
the
a
Boomers' attempt at a response?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because in
It
some
was-
ways it actually
it was
makes a good deal of sense.
It was a poorly crafted clapback.
Well, yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those ones that ended up being adopted genuinely without. I forgot I had put a bunch of weird flags in here.
No, what I was getting at
I don't know why the Swedish one's here.
the older millennial, quote unquote millennial generation. That's the whole. I'm an elder millennial, wizened, saged, and it's like there is a point in which it's like, don't lump me in with those people, because we still have some.
You
of
can't
the
lump me in
tidbits
with the rest of the Zoomers, but I
agree.
biologically. That's just when I was born. I can't hide from that.
I probably can't hide when I was born. No, it's true, but I don't know. I fail to see.
Just because you don't want to identify with it doesn't mean it's not true.
No, it's not just me. First of all, it's not true of, I think, the older generation of Y, but I think also.
Well, but that's just the name for the generation. I think you're attributing the. What is it, like the personality that is commonly attributed to them people and saying everyone from this generation has that.
I'm just saying
that's not what I'm saying.
The millennial context of, a bit of the self-entitled, not going to.
See, this is precisely what I'm saying. That's a joke that's ascribed to all of them, which of course doesn't apply.
Sure.
But you can't use that as reasons for saying, well, that's not true of me, therefore I'm not a millennial. It's like, well, that's not true of all millennials.
What I'm saying is I think it is true of a lot of millennials.
So you're the one who wants to keep that stereotype.
I do. No, I think.
To your own detriment, apparently.
The turning point.
That double-edged sword will cut you.
The ones that were old enough to actually watch all of the technological changeover happen. Because, I grew up with no computers with dial-up, and then eventually,
Computers existed when you were a child.
Well, yes.
Just because you didn't have one doesn't mean...
I'm talking about personal computers. They weren't very common.
Well, they weren't common, but they existed.
Sure.
Because we didn't have a computer in the house until I was much older, but, that's just because of our house.
I'm talking, even people that would normally have... I grew up in a generation where it wasn't a thing.
Because back in the day, the only people who needed them were businessmen.
Right. But
that doesn't mean that wasn't you can't say I grew up when there weren't computers.
No, I didn't say that. I said like I was meaning personal. There's you have zero connectivity, and the internet is, and reference and research essentially still happens with thesaurus and the library, and then you go, okay, now I'm in a generation where dial-up is a thing, but you have to be obviously off the phone and off the whatever. And then all of a sudden, internet became a real prevalent thing, and the introduction, I suppose, of all of the social networking platforms were introduced.
That was much later, though. The internet existed a long time.
Well, but I mean, YouTube technically was a social platform before it became what it is.
But I'm saying the internet's been around again. For business things longer than...
I'm very well aware of that.
Yeah, so I'm saying you can't conflate and then there was a time when the internet was prevalent, but there was no social media. I remember the internet in those days.
Sure. But I'm just saying...
I guess you had things like Zynga, which I guess counts, but nobody in their right mind would count it.
Oh, I would, 100%, because it's a...
If we were all using Zynga, I think... the world would be a better place.
Well,
sure. The social medias, I think we can accurately lay on Facebook's doorstep.
Not purely. I mean,
there
was
because MySpace and Zynga didn't corrupt society. Facebook didn't either.
They opened the door to it.
But so that's okay. Then so did IBM in the 1970s. It's like if you're going to start saying, well, you made the technology possible, that way 8 generations later a guy misused it, so it's your fault. Honestly, I actually think that the smartphone is the greatest enemy in that because social media wasn't a problem until it was everywhere. I remember when Facebook was on the computer,
You don't need
so
your
you had to
computer
have
in
your
your pocket.
turn.
You work at Kohl's.
You had to have your turn on the computer to get on Facebook, so you couldn't spend all day on Facebook.
Right, yeah.
When you have it in your pocket, you can do it all day, and then it becomes your actual existence. I wasted a whole bunch of picks and got nothing. Well, I got a lot of quartz, but I wasn't looking for that. I don't know where to find this random stone. So,
Well,
maybe I won't. Didn't make any progress. I mean, the trouble is I actually have already... I finished digging that giant thing and building these stairs. That took a long time. I guess I could thrill you all with me smelting rocks to fill in this giant pit. Literally the Sisyphean task. In 3 months, I'll come back and dig it again.
I know you're going to come back in 3 months and dig it up again.
What?
Oh, come on. It's Johnny English.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
That's a great movie.
I never saw the second one. Was it any good?
No. I mean, it was one of those ones where it wasn't bad, but it wasn't necessary either, so it's a little bit like, okay.
Alrighty. Well, I guess that's been... It's like, here's an example. Here's what I'm not overly fond of. There used to be this... Where is it? The stone I just got when I was mining in the nether. This used to be one of my favorite things. This is what it looks like. And I like the clear, white sort of cleanness of it.
Sure.
And I thought, okay, this used to be, if you wanted a block that looked like this, you had to go and mine a bunch of it. So when I did all of this stuff, when I was first building this place, because you mentioned the sort of homemaker aesthetic interior design. It was like, okay, I definitely had the idea that I wanted some flair to this place.
Sure, for sure.
I'm quite fond of my throne with the gold bricks and the nice filigree. I was happy with this, and I'm pleased with my front door, which took a lot of time to make. Because this used to be the stone you had to get. So doing a door like this took some effort. But now, it's like there's 8 different varieties of slightly off-white stone. It's like, why did we need all of these? I was content with having the one.
To make it easier for people that couldn't actually do it.
I guess, because it's like this. I guess this is example. It's like this is the other kind of stone that I used. Just, I guess, for the variety. But, I mean, I could have done it out of the same thing. And then I've realized that in the deeper parts, they've added another slightly off-white stone. Where I'm just like, I don't get it. It ends up making it... The thing I've always appreciated, or I used to appreciate about Minecraft, was that it was so simple. It's like... The complexity is meant to come from you. They give you the simple tools and you can build whatever you want with them. But then it's like, they just start adding stuff that I don't think has any real feature. Other than, I guess, some geologist was like, well, there should be all these kinds of unique stones. Is this even what granite looks like?
And we should let them frack in this game.
Does granite look pink? I thought granite was grayish.
Frick, frack, patty, whack, give him a piece of granite.
Give a dog a stone.
To give a dog a stone.
Anyways, it's just, I don't know. They've added things that I can't help but feel are a little bit too much. But then again, I am an old man.
Well, that's true of society. We've added things that are too much.
Yep, things we don't need. Well, I'm not going to continue mining, I guess. I was hoping we'd get somewhere if I spent literally an hour doing nothing but digging, but life said no to that. Just as it says no to many things.
Alas, that these evil days would be ours.